Welcome back to another Explainer. Today we're diving straight into Jonathan Reed's fantastic book, Start a Business from Zero. Build skills, change behavior, create stability. Specifically, we're zeroing in on one of the most critical and, honestly, nerve-wracking transitions for any beginner, choosing your very first revenue model. Look, if you're stepping into the world of business for the first time, you probably have a killer idea. You understand your customer's problem, you've mapped out a solution, but how do you actually cross that bridge into, making money without getting completely overwhelmed? Well, let's find out.
Right, so you've done all the prep work. But the exact moment your big, abstract idea has to interact with the real world, this massive question inevitably flashes across your mind. Will people actually pay for this? This question, it's completely normal, but it's also fundamentally speculative. In behavioral terms, worrying about this before you have any real data is called anticipatory anxiety. It happens the literal second your business stops being a safe abstract idea on a whiteboard and starts requiring an actual exchange of value.
So, why does this happen? Psychologists actually have a term for this. It's called emotional interference. Basically, most of us just aren't wired to think clearly about pricing. When we look at a price tag or a business model, we aren't just seeing math. Our brains instantly tie those numbers to our own self-worth, our fears of rejection, and all these complex social norms. Because of this heavy emotional interference, beginners often end up self-sabotaging. They either avoid the pricing decision entirely, or they make choices based on pure discomfort rather than what the business actually needs to survive.
This is absolutely crucial. If you take away just one thing from this whole explainer, let it be this insight from Reed. We have to reframe our entire view of money right from the starting line. Money is not some terrifying personal judgment of your worth, it is just feedback. It's a beautifully neutral, clinical mechanism that signals perceived value and commitment. When a customer hands over cash, they aren't just politely nodding along with your idea, they are taking action. Viewing payments simply as a feedback signal completely removes that emotional weight, and it gives you the confidence you need to actually get out there and test the market.
All right, let's move into Section 1, the complexity trap, and avoiding emotional traps.
That emotional baggage we just talked about, it often morphs into a massive roadblock known as complexity bias. It's this sneaky tendency we all have to assume that if a system is more complex, well, it must be more valuable, more professional, or more legitimate, right? So instead of just offering a simple, straightforward service to get started, beginners will spend months building intricate online portals or crazy automated funnels because it feels like quote-unquote real business. But actually, it's usually just a form of avoidance, totally disguised as preparation.
And that leads us right into some classic beginner traps. Trap number 1, choosing models based on the latest internet trends, like passive income or high-ticket scaling, rather than what actually fits your current skill level. Trap number 2 is designing multi-layered systems way too early. We're talking about creating multiple pricing tiers and automated subscriptions before you've even landed a single paying customer. And trap number 3, the ultimate trap. Avoiding the revenue decision entirely, just keeping the business safely tucked away in the conceptual stage so you literally never have to face the fear of someone saying no.
Okay, so what's the antidote here? It's simply this. A simple, functional model you can use today is infinitely more valuable than some complex, ideal model you might launch next year. Simplicity beats sophistication. Fit beats trend. Action beats perfection. Research in behavioral design consistently shows us that simpler systems have fewer moving parts, which means far fewer points of failure. They're easier to execute, easier to sustain, and most importantly, they let you test the market right now.
Moving on to Section 2, simple versus complex models. Let's actually compare these two approaches side by side. First, think about a one-time payment model. Say, offering to fix someone's website for a flat fee. It's incredibly simple, you deliver the value quickly, and you get immediate feedback. Did they buy it or not? Boom, you have real data. Now, contrast that with a subscription model. This is highly complex. It requires you to constantly produce ongoing value to prevent cancellations, and it actually delays your learning because the feedback loop is stretched out over months and months. If you're a beginner, a simple one-time payment is absolutely your fast track to real learning.
Let's jump into Section 3, finding your perfect fit and selecting your model.
So how do you actually pick the right one? You want to look at 4 key criteria. First, simplicity. How few steps are between the customer and the actual solution? Second, fit with your skills. Can you genuinely deliver this today? Third, fit with your customer. Is this how they actually prefer to buy? And fourth, ease of starting. What requires the least amount of infrastructure to launch right now? Remember, aligning with where you are right this second matters way more than long-term optimization. You can always change your model later.
Here's how this looks in the real world when you match a customer's needs to a simple model. If your customer needs a quick solution to a very specific problem, like say they need their taxes filed, the ideal simple model is a one-time service. Boom, done. If they need a multi-step transformation, maybe they want to lose 10 pounds, a package works best. And if they just need ongoing, consistent support, like monthly bookkeeping, a simple retainer is perfect. By clearly mapping a customer's problem directly to a straightforward payment method, you build immediate momentum and, of course, confidence.
Section 4. Shifting into first gear using visual metaphors.
Reed uses a couple of great metaphors to help stop the overthinking. First up, the container. Think of your actual business, the service or product, as the substance, the core value you create. The revenue model? It's literally just the container. If you have incredible, life-changing water to give someone, but you lock it inside a container with a complex keypad, they aren't going to drink it. The container's only job is to facilitate the exchange. Keep that container incredibly simple so your customer can access the value effortlessly.
And then there's my absolute favorite metaphor. You literally cannot start driving a car in fifth gear, right? If you try, the engine is just going to stall out and you won't go anywhere. Building a massive automated subscription platform on day one is exactly like trying to start in fifth gear. A simple one-time consulting session, that is first gear. It gives you the initial momentum and movement you desperately need. Once you are actually rolling down the road and have real customers, then you can shift gears and start building those more complex systems.
Finally, Section 5. The one-sentence test for a quick clarity check.
Okay, here is your ultimate, highly actionable litmus test, straight from the book. It's broken down into 4 super clear steps. Step 1, identify exactly who your customer is. Step 2, define the precise problem they're facing. Step 3, state the offer or solution you're bringing to the table. And Step 4, specify the exact payment model used for the exchange. Honestly, if you can't clearly define these 4 basic steps, you're probably still swimming in complexity.
Which brings us to the magic formula. Your entire business model right now needs to fit into this exact fill-in-the-blank sentence. I help customer solve problem through offer and they pay model. For example, I help local bakeries solve low foot traffic through a custom social media strategy and they pay a one-time service fee. See how easy that is? It is an unintimidating, crystal clear bridge between the value you provide and the payment you receive. No jargon, no complex marketing funnels, just absolute clarity.
Let's wrap this explainer up with a bit of a challenge that's going to push you right out of your comfort zone. I call it the 48-hour challenge. Can you take that one sentence you just built and explain your revenue model out loud to a friend, a partner, or a colleague in the next 48 hours and have it make perfect sense to them? If they look confused, your model is too complex. Simplify it. Remember, you aren't locked into this model forever. You're just choosing a starting structure so you can stop endlessly planning and start actually learning. So what gear are you going to shift into today? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer and happy building.